Alexander Stewart with Inside the Ropes, and I'm back again with another fantastic interview for you today. You can already see my guest across to my left. We are talking about an entrepreneur, actress, stunt woman, and of course, former WWE superstar. It's none other than the wonderful, the lovely, the incredible CJ Perry. CJ, how are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Delight to have you here. We've been trying to get this going for a little while. Super excited to sit down and chat. I think you're someone that's got a really interesting story in wrestling and outside of wrestling. But before we go into any of the wrestling tea, and we know there is a lot of it, the one I want to start off with is I want to talk to you a little bit about cgperry.com and Brand Army. Brand Army allowing you to get closer to your fans and kind of connect in a new way that's not been kind of achievable before. I wanted to ask firstly why you chose Brand Army over sort of alternatives like Fansly or OnlyFans, and secondly what it means to you as a celebrity and influencer, however you wish to look at it, is being able to connect with your fans on this newer personal level.
Thank you. Yes, subscribe to cjperry.com. I'm really excited about being on cjperry.com and being on Brand Army. It's a different site compared to, let's say, an OnlyFans. Miro, kind of the big part of why I decided to go on there was because Miro felt more comfortable with it. And it was definitely a big conversation that we had to have. And he didn't really want me on OnlyFans. So Brand Army is a great place where, you have Disney stars on there, you have all different types of people on there, and it's just a better way to connect with your audience. A lot of these other platforms were putting out so much free content, and also maybe not everything's appropriate for everyone that follows me on Instagram. Maybe I want to put something a lot more sexier, or, pushing the envelope a little bit, pushing it a little bit more. Maybe that's not the most appropriate thing to do for, the 10, 12-year-old kids that are following me on Instagram. And I want to be respectful of, mothers and fathers who have their kids following me on places like Instagram or TikTok. While Brand Army, I can kind of do everything that I want, and I love because I put everything on there. I have the sexy stuff. I have sexy stuff from back when I was like in my early 20s and modeling that a lot of people have never seen these pictures before. Things now, I have a ton of behind the scenes stuff that I've put that I've never posted because it was always like I was in a story with someone. And in WWE, I was so committed to my character and to my stories that like, it didn't matter if Naomi was my best friend. If we were feuding, and most of the time we were a lot of times in the program together because she was on the baby face side, the good guy side, I was on the heel side, the bad guy side. And so we always committed to, no, we're not going to post all our pictures or all our fun videos together while we're working. And I, really, really always try to commit to my character, my story, and while being WWE. So there's so much content that I've just kept of stuff with the girls backstage, the locker room tour and all that stuff I put out on Throwback Thursday. And it's incredible. Like I pop myself seeing some of the pictures and videos that I have found that I forgot I had. So there's a ton of stuff like that. There's a ton of stuff, stuff of me being at Liv Morgan's farm that I've never put out, or hanging out with Aaliyah, or stuff with Natty and TJ, Sasha, the list goes on. Stuff with Bobby Lashley, that like where I show that 1 second I'm on the plane with Miro going to Saudi Arabia, and then I sneak up and I sit next to Bobby and snap a picture, and then I go back. We have all of that on video. And so that's a big part of it. And then also just telling kind of exclusive stuff on there. I have so many stories from my journey in entertainment, but also in WWE. And instead of just giving it out to these platforms that won't even show it to all your people, like I think it's like 3% of Instagram sees your stuff that you put out. It's like, I'm not going to waste it on that. Let me put it out on Brand Army, where the algorithms, there is no algorithms, and you can see everything that I post. And so that's what I've been kind of doing. And also posting original content. Like, I've shot a web series. I've shot right now I'm shooting and directing my first short film. That's going to be launched on there. And so it's not, there's a big range of stuff, from sexy stuff to, wrestling matches that have never been seen, to original content. And it's just a place for me to connect with the fans. I read all the messages, I read all the comments. It's really the only place that for sure you'll be able to reach me. And I listen, I'm listening, I see it. I want people to get their full $19.99 worth. I'm about to, because I know that's a lot of money. We're coming out of a pandemic. It's rough. Like, prices are going up everywhere. And, I really want to make sure that I'm not just grabbing people's coins. And I'm actually doing a sale to do cameos for people, and releasing 8x10s. And I'm about to for subscription people, they're going to get their free cameo and free 8x10. If you come and subscribe now, you're going to get a free cameo and a free 8x10 signed by me, because I so appreciate everyone that is subscribing. Like, I appreciate the fans. I miss the fans. I miss the people so much. And yeah, it's a place for me to connect in a way. And I want to make sure that kids can be able to go there too. So I kind of do a mix of all, not maybe kids, but 18.
Well, if the people like the sound of that are listening, we'll have, of course, the link on screen here, as well as in the top bar of the description. So make sure you go over, make sure you support CJ, Brand Army in general, outside of just CJ, but CJ is the priority here. But outside of that, they've got a bunch of amazing stuff and amazing creators over there that you should go and support. And I think it's great what you guys are doing there. One thing I want to talk about, you mentioned obviously your time in WWE and being a wrestling site. I think I would have my hands chopped off by the boss if I didn't ask about the WWE a little bit. You've tweeted recently that your time in wrestling isn't over and you miss it. I wanted to ask a little bit more about that, in terms of where you're at, in terms of, do you have a particular time scale in mind, or is it kind of just when the feeling's right, I'll be back?
Yeah, gosh, I miss wrestling so much. I can't even start to tell you. I feel like up until my time with WWE, I had done all these different things. If it was, being a professional dancer, an actress, a model. I worked for Red Bull for a long time, starting the races, trophy girl. Like, there were so many different things that I had done. I worked bar mitzvahs, bar mitzvah, go-go dancing, like everything under the sun. I feel like in some shape and form I had done. And when I came into wrestling and I got this tryout with WWE, I just fell madly in love with it. And I constantly would be like, this is something I've been looking for my whole life. It's something that you have physicality. Like, that's where the part of like the dancing that I would get so excited. You connect with the live audience. It's a scripted television show at the end of the day. You get the model with the photo shoots, you get the action figures and the trading cards. You feel like an athlete. You're able to connect with such a global audience of people and fans all over the world. And man, I miss it so much. My time with WWE finished right before the fans came back in full capacity. So that was a little bit difficult for me to see, like, because oh my God, that's why I do it. Like, it's worth all the struggle. It's worth all the disappointment. It's worth all the time on the road, away from your family. That's worth it. Right. And so, yeah, that's the part, like, I can't even start to explain it. It's like, I feel like I miss my drug. Like, sometimes I'm fiending and I get moody and get angry sometimes. And then I realize, well, it's because I miss doing what I love so much. But it's really important to me, like, when I return back to wrestling, like, I want it to be meaningful, and I really want it to be impactful. And I just don't want to do something half-ass, and I don't want to do something that's mediocre. And I think in WWE, I was just always a company girl. I was whatever Vince wanted, whatever company wanted. I was like, at the end of the day, and this maybe was because I came from acting, and I came from where at the end of the day, you're an actor. So it's your job to figure out whatever story plot, even if it doesn't make sense to you, it's your job to make it make sense. And so, because I came from that mentality, I never said no to anything. I was always like, okay, okay, that doesn't make a lot of sense at all, but I'll figure it out. And I always was able to figure it out. And, I've been dragged through the mud on the internet for stories that I didn't write. I was just trying to grab the brass ring doing it. And I think many times I did. I mean, the stuff with Bobby Lashley, the stuff with Dolph and, Miro, like the numbers don't lie, that's crazy numbers. And I know people like scandals, so maybe that's why as well. But just in general, like I have dance battles with Trinity that are like 15 million views, or matches with Charlotte that are like 29 million views, like crazy numbers. And so I think it hurt me a little bit just to commit so much to something like with my whole heart and spend all my off days on the road. Like even in the pandemic, when people were living at home, I was living in a hotel room for 150 days by myself, away from my husband, training with Natty and TJ. And I just felt like I gave so much and that I got in return, like, look, life isn't fair, so there's always going to be someone even less like treated worse. And I understand that, but I just got really burnt out because I was like, man, I worked my ass off and they let me go, I don't know, I given everything. And then from the fans, a lot of fans are really appreciative, but from the people that write journaling, like the journalists are the people that would drag me through the mud, the people that would be like, yeah, you're the worst storyline of the year. Well, we're the most watched storyline of the year. And, Rolling Stones being like, oh yeah, they were the worst story of the year. No, we were the most watched story of the year. And I just was like, I need a break. I've given it everything I have in me, and to be treated back like that. Cool, I'm going to take a breather and I'm going to go pursue these other passions that I love, that these other dreams and goals that I put on hold because I've been doing this not even 300 days of the year, 325 days of the year, because I would just do so much more, like go to NXT on my off days when we were still shooting Total Divas and Raw and SmackDown. So, but I miss it regardless. I miss the fans, I miss the people, I miss the adrenaline rush. And I would absolutely love the return and be a part of something that is iconic. But if it's not iconic, I'm good. I'll be a fan.
Definitely. And I think, first of all, I think I always like to say that ITR's view, and I know my view of journalism is that journalists shouldn't have opinions. So I think it's one of those when people are talking about the worst of this and worst of that, it's irrelevant, it's opinion. That's not how things work. And like you say, if you're in the most viewed angle, that's just facts. You mentioned Vince there, and we're in this crazy time of wrestling where less than a week ago, we've had Vince retire after sort of numerous things coming out from Wall Street Journal and different sort of things. I wanted to ask, as someone who's been around Vince and kind of self-described company girl, what your relationship was like with Vince, and if you had maybe a particular story that comes to mind when you think of your time with Vince in the WWE.
Oh gosh, I feel like such a controversial issue right now. And it's really unfortunate, everything, to be honest. I'm a big believer that, we should bring things into the light. And even though I had an amazing relationship with Vince and he was very kind to me, and taught me so many things that I'm going to take with me for the rest of my life, doesn't mean that other people had a very different experience, and I, of in general, not with people in WWE, but in general of being a victim of sexual harassment and being a victim of people trying to pull favors from you that I really just don't ever really talk about. And maybe one day we'll be more comfortable with talking on a bigger level. But, I have compassion and empathy for those women. And I think, it does need to be handled properly, however it is. And with that said, I've learned a lot of lessons that I take with me in life. I kind of learned from him. And, I really learned, one of the stories he would always say to me is like, it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from it. And I think we really understand that. That's like liberating and freeing. And because we're all going to make mistakes in life, and if we allow ourselves to be motivated by fear, like, oh my God, if we do this, I'm going to fail, I'm going to make a mistake, then really we're never going to do anything. And my time in WWE was a lot like that. Like my first match, WrestleMania was at WrestleMania in front of 101,000 people, or my first singles match was with Naomi at a pay-per-view for the title. And it was like, that's really scary. And I had to accept the fact that I was going to fail, and I was going to fail in front of all the fans and all the people. And I was going to fail on national television, and people are going to be angry that I'm getting that opportunity over, a girl who has been wrestling in the indies, in barns, in grocery stores, in front of 5 people for 10 years, who maybe does deserve, for actually probably 1000% deserves it more than me. And I understood that. And I think coming from Hollywood, where, I might have not slept in my car to become a professional wrestler, but I slept in my car to become a professional storyteller, and slept to become a professional entertainer. And so my road was different, but my hustle was the same. And so like, I always had so much compassion and empathy to these people that wanted to be in WWE, and that was their childhood dream. And I was kind of living their childhood dream. And I can't even, that's why I work my ass off, because I'm like, the least I can do is give respect to this business that I've gotten this incredible opportunity that so many other people want, and I see that in Hollywood all the time. There's so many things that I audition for since I've been 18 years old that I want, that I know I'm better than the person that books it, and they book it. And that's just life, things are not fair. I'm sure that people look at Sasha Banks, who are actors, and go, wait, why did she get Mandalorian? Why didn't I get Mandalorian? But that's life. That's show business. It's not fair. And it's a matter of opinion, but the least I could do is try to work hard to give respect to this business that so many people out there are hustling and struggling to get into this, to this spot. So I'm thankful that Vince taught me that, to not be scared to make mistakes, as long as you learn from it. And I've been doing that. And I guess another big lesson he taught me was the importance of forgiving, ironically, and so, he taught me like, hey, it's take responsibility for when you're wrong, apologize. And, he goes, if people ask for forgiveness, I'll forgive them and I'll never think about it again. It's done. And I think that's like that's a hard thing to do. And I think that's why he's been in business with people for so long after fallouts, but I think all of us can take that chapter from him. And my prayer is that, my thoughts and prayers go out to the women that feel like they've been mistreated and with anything that's going on. I that's something, unless you go through it, you don't really fully understand. So God, it's a crazy time to be in wrestling.
I'm aware we're approaching the end of our time together today. So before I pass over to you to wrap up, I just wanted to, you've mentioned Naomi a few times in the interview, and Sasha Banks there as well. And obviously part of the crazy wrestling going on at the moment is the whole situation with Naomi, Sasha Banks, the WWE, the alleged walkout, and the sort of the reaction to the way it was handled on air, which hasn't really been done before. As someone who's very close with Naomi, I just wanted to ask your thoughts on the way it was handled by the WWE, and seeing your friend go through that, kind of what your reaction was.
Yeah, I mean, I think a good question, it's really interesting now that Brock just walked out last week, and so my question is, what's the difference between Brock walking out and Sasha and Naomi walking out? Why was commentators asking, was Brock unprofessional? Was Brock frozen in limbo? No, he's actually going to main event one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year. So I think, again, that's this conversation goes much bigger than just a Vince McMahon conversation. And it goes to like, is there double standard in wrestling still? We see it in Hollywood a little, and there's been big, Charlize Theron, Jennifer Lawrence, when they took a stand and go, hey, we're not going to work for less than these men. Charlize Theron shouldn't be working less than Chris Hemingway. Good thing she stood up and said, hey, I want equality. And I think this brings up a much bigger conversation of some of the, I'm not going to subscribe to cjperry.com. You're going to get the TT. It's just like, to me, I'm like, there's just a double standard between what men can do, what men get away with, the men's pay, and the women. And I don't think that's cool. They dragged them through the mud. And that was just, look, I understand that probably Vince was offended by what they did. And but at the end of the day, it was real petty, you know. And I got my girls back, like Sasha and Naomi. And you know, I just think that there needs to be a change in wrestling. You see, sure, there's a long list of stuff, misconduct with other people of men in that business that are high up on the toll. And what about that? The women are treated so differently than how the men are treated. And I just think the double standard has to finish. And I think this is a great example that it was all cool for Brock Lesnar to leave, but for those girls, they freaking dragged them through the mud. They're in limbo. They can't work anything else. They can't, you know, it's frozen. And that's just like, I just don't think that's cool at all. So that's my thoughts on it. And I'm going to always have, you know, I'm going to stand up for what's right at the end of the day. And I just feel like there's a big double standard there. And I don't think that's cool. And I think it needs to change.
Definitely. And, you know, totally agree with what you're saying about the double standards and the change that's needed. But we have unfortunately reached the end of our time together today. But before we go, I want to pass over to you because we've talked about cjperry.com, but I know you've got some stuff coming up with StarCast, where you've got some filming going on. So I just wanted to give you the opportunity to plug anything you want to plug, and we will get it all featured down in the description below for you.
Yay. Yes. If you guys are in Nashville, this Saturday between 1 and 4, Miro and I are going to be there joint together. Yes, we are happily married. We didn't really get divorced. So it's exciting. It's actually our first signing back together. It's our first thing that we're doing together since, I guess, beginning of 2020 into 2019 and that Bobby Lashley story. So yeah, come see us if you're in Nashville for SummerSlam. We're going to be at StarCast on this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. We would absolutely love to meet you guys. We love the fans so much. I personally miss all of you so much. So love to meet you guys. I also have a movie coming out, Wife Like, on August 12th. You'll be able to watch it on Paramount and Plus and on demand. There's going to be a small movie theatrical release as well. So super excited. Jonathan Rhys-Meyers is in it. And yeah, subscribe to cjperry.com. Miro, you might see some really funny things with Miro jumping in the pool naked as well, and I'm going to be doing collabs soon, which I'm really excited about. So going to be doing collabs with some really great former WWE stars. And yeah, so subscribe to cjperry.com.
So I've paid $250,000 fucking dollars to have a marketing firm make original content, and you guys are just watching the old shit. And I'm waiting for the, haha, got you guys. Nope. Just gets up and leaves.